Just another day trying to break free of the pentatonic scale, right? Whoever's watching this, for the love of all that you believe in, promise me the next time you pick up a guitar, you're not just gonna put on a backing track and noodle or play the same scales or the same songs that you've been playing for the last month, 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, however long. When we practice, it's crucial to constantly make adjustments. We've all heard practice makes perfect, and you can practice the same concept for a long time, but if you never make any adjustments, you're never going to find anything new. You're never going to truly break free of what it is you've always been doing. Okay, so today we're going to look at one of the many ways you can start to make these adjustments and find new, cool, refreshing ideas. And we're going to call this exercise grouping plus one. So in general, as musicians and as guitar players, we group notes together, right? You can group them together and make a chord. You can group them together and make a scale, a pentatonic scale, major scale, whatever it is, arpeggios, triads, whatever. Those are all groupings of notes, right? But for some reason, everyone decides to group these notes in the same way all the time. Just about every guitar player you know plays the pentatonic scale all the time, right? But there are so many other ways to group these notes, and when you group them differently, it just sounds different. So what I'm going to do here is just play over, let's say, A minor. And instead of playing A minor pentatonic, what I'm going to think is the notes in an actual A minor chord. So that's the root, the flat third, and the fifth. If you know theory, those numbers come from the scale. The root is the 1, the first note of the scale. The flat third, it's the third note in a minor scale, and the fifth is the fifth note in a scale. And those notes build a minor chord, in this case, A minor. You can also think of those 3 notes as the triad. So I'm really just going to focus around the A minor triad. So A, C, and E if you want the note names. So these notes right here. Every note I just played there was A, C, or E, or the 1, the flat 3, and the 5. In the key of A minor. So that's going to be my starting point. For your starting point, you can pick any grouping of notes. So it doesn't have to be the triad. It can be any notes from the scale. It can even be random notes just to see what that sounds like over A minor. But in this case, I know that those triad notes sound good. I'm going to use that as my starting point here. So if I put on a backing track and just play those triad notes, it'll sound pretty basic. I'll show you an example. So I'm getting comfortable with that. I'm getting comfortable with my triad notes here. So now I'm going to take an extra note from outside that triad, from outside that grouping of notes, and I'm going to throw it in here. So let's just pick another note from the scale. Okay, so what other notes am I not using so far in an A minor scale? Well, I could use the 4, the 4th note in the scale, or D, right? So if I add that in as an available note I can use now what I have is the root, the flat 3, the 4, and the 5th, or A, C, D, and E. So I can use 4 notes now. So let's see what that sounds like. I'm going to improvise with those 4 notes only over an A minor backing track. Notice how focused that sound is. Like, it almost sounds like minor pentatonic, but I'm never playing the flat 7, which is another note from the minor pentatonic scale. So this sound is like very hyper focused on just those 4 notes. And just doing this now, I played some interesting melodies that I never would have thought of had I not limited it down to these 4 notes. I also found it challenging not to hit that flat 7 because I'm so used to playing minor pentatonic ideas. So that to me is a sign that I have a bad habit, right? That I'm so used to playing minor pentatonic that it was difficult for me not to play minor pentatonic. All right, let's try this with a different note. So I'm gonna go back to my 1, my flat 3, my 5. This time let's add in a 2 instead of a 4. So it's gonna be these 4 notes here. A root, 2, flat 3, and 5. Okay, so let's try it. If you want to learn more about mastering the fretboard as a whole and improvising more freely, I'm linking a free training in the description, so check that out. If you want me to personally help you reach your guitar-related goals, whatever those may be, through that same link you can apply to get on a call with me where we'll discuss your specific situation, see if I can help you do just that, and see if we might be a good fit to work together. So click that link below. Now back to the video. Let's try something else. What if I do a sharp 4? So what if I go like this? Kind of an interesting sound, right? So I got my root, my flat third, my sharp 4, and my 5. So what I'm kind of doing here is like creating little arpeggios for myself to pull from here. And instead of just going up in that order, like 1, then the flat 3, then the sharp 4, then the 5th, every time when I play this, I'm trying to actively mix it up and kind of jump around. So you get the idea. I'm starting with a grouping of 3 notes in this case and adding in an extra note, using only those 4 notes to improvise, right? Now, what if I pick a different grouping? Like what if I actually pick the pentatonic scale, right? So that gives me 5 notes as my initial grouping of notes. And let's say I bring in another note, right? Let's say I bring in the natural 7, for example. So then instead of just pentatonic scale, I'm gonna have natural 7 and root. So let's see what that sounds like. Some interesting sounds there. You know, another example would be like the blues scale, you know, with that sharp 4. It's basically like a pentatonic scale plus 1 extra chromatic note, right? So try it out. Pick a grouping of notes and just add in something that's not directly in that grouping of notes, whether it's something else from an overarching scale or a chromatic note or tension or whatever. Another quick tip here, record yourself and watch it back and pick apart the ideas that you like, figure out why is it that I like this idea, and see if you can run with those ideas and get those to come out more in your playing. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, go crazy in the comment section, and I will see you in the next one.